watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Hello, everybody. Good to have you with us on this Thursday afternoon. We're back in the studio today. Welcome to Live at 4.
And our heat and humidity continues.
It followed us,
yes. And we're watching out for some storms in the region. Let's begin with our first warn forecast on this alert day. Meteorologist Blaze Keller is here to show us more. Blaze?
That's right. We've already had one tornado warning for parts of Vernon, Juneau County, but that has since been allowed to expire. But we're still not out of the woods yet. That's why we still keep the alert day conditions for the rest of this evening for not only strong storms, but also the potential for flooding as well. We do have a tornado watch for anybody there in the yellow. That includes Juneau, Adams County, Crawford, as well as Richland County until 8 p.m. this evening. But folks, outside of that tornado watch, we are still going to be watching for the potential for an isolated weak tornado or two as we sit underneath this very unstable environment. A couple of showers are continuing to pop up, some thunderstorms up there near Sparta. If we take a look at where most of that thunderstorm activity is, that's up near Vernon County still, Juneau and Adams County, but we're noting some showers. Again, not even seeing any lightning with some out in Grant County, Richland County, back into Iowa and Sauk County and Columbia County as well. I want to pause it with that tornado warned storm that was moving on through earlier this afternoon. While it did look impressive, it's about here that the mesocyclone, or the rotation where we usually find that possible tornado, the funnel and the wall cloud, it really detached from the supercell itself, and that's what caused it to weaken as it moved closer to the Boston area. So that is some good news, and emergency management is not reporting any damage for any of the communities in the path of that once tornado warned cell. As I mentioned, folks that are not in that tornado watch, we are still looking at that chance for an isolated weak tornado. Those of us in the brown, especially, the environment's just a little bit better for an isolated tornado or two, but everybody in the green or brown needs to make sure that they have a safety plan and a way to receive weather alerts this afternoon. These storms are in an environment that is very saturated with atmospheric energy or food for these storms. So once you get north of really Camp Douglas, there is no energy. So folks in the yellows and these oranges and these dark reds, we're going to be watching over the next several hours for possible storm development. We're not out of the woods yet. Future Track continues to bring in what we call discrete cells as we go into the 7 o'clock time frame. All of these could bring strong winds, hail, heavy rain, as well as that isolated tornado threat. And then overnight is when a line of storms will move through and primarily bring the wind threat. So we're going to dive more into tonight's forecast as well as what we can expect to end the work week in just a few minutes.
All right, Blaze, thank you. A man who pleaded guilty in a violent home invasion in 2016 in Madison will spend 20 years in prison. Today, a judge sentenced 36-year-old Shabri Link for a break-in back in 2016. Link and another man duct-taped a man and his girlfriend while their kids watched. The two then shot the man. The judge also sentenced him for a separate incident in 2021. Link was part of a duo that shot and killed 24-year-old Eric Ranson outside of a home on the northeast side. After serving his time, Link will be under extended supervision for 10 years.
A man is in jail and he is accused of threatening to hurt people on State Street with a knife. At about 8:40 last night, officers responded to the area near Michelangelo's Coffee House. Police say the man, a 38-year-old, was confrontational and refused to comply with officers who used a launcher to fire a spongy projectile at him. Officers were then able to arrest him and recover the knife. Columbia County residents are voicing their concerns with a potential Alliant Energy wind project on the way.
Our Ellie La Liberté met with those residents today and shows us what they have to say.
About 10 people came out and talked to me today about their concerns with the Columbia wind project. One of those is disrupting views like this.
The people that are putting them up, they don't live by them. They're not in their backyards.
Tony Schreier isn't a fan of wind turbines potentially moving in across Columbia County.
It could affect our groundwater.
The project would construct about 40 wind turbines, powering about 70,000 homes annually. But for this group, it's not worth it.
I don't feel that the energy that these turbines supply for the footprint that they leave on the environment is not sustainable. For what they are going to do to our beautiful area and our best farmland, does not sustain the energy that they create.
Pending approval, construction could begin in 2027 and be completed by 2028.
Reporting in Columbia County, Eliel Liberté, News 3 Now.
Thank you, Ellie. Align Energy also provided a statement. It says in part, we are proud to partner with over 300 voluntary landowners. These landowners appreciate the benefits of this project and realize that the positive impact will last for generations. It goes on to say we are also proud to support local community events and organizations, including conservation efforts.
Happening tomorrow, the state's budget writing committee will meet on the budget. The agenda includes more than 50 topics, among them funding for the universities of Wisconsin, the Elections Commission, and transportation. The committee will also hold a hearing tomorrow on the Department of Public Instruction's request to release $50 million in funding for reading programs. It comes one day after the state Supreme Court ruled the department needs their approval for the money's release.
Today marks 10 years since the United States Supreme Court announced its Obergefell versus Hodges decision. On June 26, 2015, justices ruled by one vote all states must recognize same-sex marriages. A new Gallup poll shows even though Americans' support for same-sex marriage has gone up since then, there is a huge gap on the issue between parties. There is currently a 47% gap between Republicans and Democrats. Right now, 41% of Republicans say they support same-sex marriage. Meanwhile, 88% of Democrats support marriage equality.
Planned Parenthood cannot move forward with its lawsuit against the state of South Carolina. Today, the U.S. Supreme Court's conservative majority delivered that decision. The organization sued the state after the governor of South Carolina pulled the organization's Medicaid funding. The decision ended up blocking some patients from receiving cancer screenings and birth control. Tomorrow is the court's last day of the year. They'll deliver rulings on the president's plan to end birthright citizenship and LGBTQ+ books in public schools.
Next on Live at 4, new information provides a look at how Wisconsinites feel about the governor and the president.
How many people approve of the jobs they're doing? We'll have the results of the latest Marquette Law School poll when we come back. Welcome back. Less than half of Wisconsin voters want Governor Tony Evers to run for a third term.
And most people think the president's budget proposals will increase inflation. These are just some of the key findings from the latest Marquette Law School poll, which surveyed registered voters in Wisconsin. Joining us now, the poll's director, Charles Franklin. Welcome back to Live at 4.
Hi, Charles. Good to see you.
Yeah, when it comes to Governor Evers, I wanted to know these poll results. Do you think they're enough to sway him one way or the other to run again or bow out?
I would doubt that they sway his decision much one way or another. 42% say they'd like him to run, but 55% say they'd like him not to run, and a few don't have an opinion. But among Democrats, it's about 83% would like him to run, so that's solid support, but not quite unanimous. About 15% say not run. Interestingly, there's not much of an age difference. Among Democrats under 30, it's 28% not run, but among all other age categories, it's in the low teens not run. So we don't see that big gap in age that we saw with Biden.
That's interesting. We've been following the budget, the state budget, very closely, and your poll showed that 65% of voters would like more than half of the state budget surplus. We have a surplus in Wisconsin to go to tax cuts. So which budget do you think people are going to support, the governor's or the Republicans in the legislature?
You know, it's very clear. If you're a Republican, you want a bigger share to go to tax cuts. If you're a Democrat, you want less of a share. It's sort of evenly divided. 35% would like 75 or 100% to go to tax cuts. And 35% would like 25 or 0% to go. And then there's whatever that's left in the middle, 30-something percent. And so it's a teetering thing. There's no question that a lot of people would like at least a significant tax cut, but whether it's at the high end of the $4 billion surplus or at the low end, very much depends on which party you're in.
Interesting.
Something interesting we noticed in this poll, Governor Evers' approval rating is higher than the legislature's by about 7%. Why do you think that's the case?
Well, first of all, Evers is the most popular figure in the state in our polling over his entire term in office. He's consistently the one with the best ratings. And legislatures never get a very high approval rating. And I don't know if it's fair to them to point that out, but that's just a fact. So the legislative approval is at 41, Evers is at 48. That's a bit of a gap. On the other hand, the legislature's been worse off, but Evers has been better off at some times.
Now, you also asked about President Trump and how Wisconsin voters are feeling about that. Now, this was pre-strike in Iran, so whenever you do a poll, then something big happens.
Yes,
never fails.
always happens.
But what did the poll show?
Yeah, Trump's job approval rating is 47.52. That's down just a single point from where he was in February, our last Wisconsin poll. National polling showed him dipping in the spring, but recovering a bit in May and June. We don't have that middle area, so it doesn't look like much change for him. Okay. Some of his policies, though, are not so popular.
And a lot of us in Wisconsin, particularly Madison, we're keeping an eye on the federal funding in regards to the university system. What did the poll find across all parties on that issue?
Yeah, the public is evenly split on increasing or cutting the UW budget. About 27% say it should be increased. 49% say it should be kept where it is, and 23% say a cut. Even when we then tell them that the state ranks 44th out of 50 states in university funding, support for an increase only goes up to 41%. 57% say the universities have to just learn to live within their means.
Very interesting. So no major swings or surprises from your previous poll?
No, things are fairly stable. People don't like tariffs. They're worried about inflation. They think the federal deficit is going to increase. Those things are the same. And feelings about various politicians are pretty stable. Elon Musk is a little less popular than he was before.
Interesting.
Charles, thank you very much for being on with us as always.
Great to see you.
And let's get a look at our first warn forecast. You can kind of feel like there's something in the air out there, Blaze.
The severe weather threat. It's the humidity, it's the atmospheric energy, it's the warm temperatures. That's all kind of coming together to bring us that chance for yet again another day of severe weather. And as we look into the overnight hours, we'll once again be dealing with that chance for severe weather. But by Friday, we start to clear on out. We'll get a brief break from not only the heat, but the humidity as well. Currently, there is a tornado watch for Juneau, Adams County, Vernon, Richland, and Crawford County until 8 p.m. this evening. National Weather Service in Milwaukee may issue their own set of watches, whether that's a tornado watch or a severe thunderstorm watch. We're going to continue, myself and Alex, to monitor and talk with them. But for now, we are not seeing any of those watches being issued for most of our coverage area. We're still underneath a marginal and in the yellow, a slight risk for severe weather. So that means an isolated chance for severe thunderstorms in the green and more scattered severe thunderstorm chances there in the yellow. We still see that 2 and 5% chance for an isolated weak tornado. The green and the brown are on the lower end of our tornado probability legend or criteria, but that doesn't mean that we won't see them. Again, we could still see a decent tornado, a stronger tornado, even with the lower end colors here. And on the opposite end of that, we might not see a tornado if we were underneath more of that higher threat. So whenever there's a tornado risk, in short, just make sure that you are taking it seriously. Make sure that you have a way to receive weather alerts throughout the rest of this afternoon and evening, downloading the First Warn Weather app, and also make sure that you and your family have a safety plan and know what to do in case a tornado warning is issued for where you live. As we move throughout the rest of the afternoon, we're still going to watch the chance for what we call discrete thunderstorms to develop. This is likely when we would see the best chance for that isolated weak tornado. Discrete thunderstorms, supercell thunderstorms, they like to be alone. And then once the line moves in as we go overnight into early Friday, we lose the isolated tornado chance and threat, and then we move over to more of that the strong winds as well as the heavy rain threat as well. So we're looking at 60s and 70s overnight with that chance for scattered showers and thunderstorms. I mentioned that heavy rain threat also a problem this evening. We have an area flood watch essentially stretching from Crawford County all the way north into more of central Wisconsin through through early Friday morning, because some of these spots over the last 5 days have picked up anywhere between 3 to over a half a foot of rain. So we don't need any more water, but these storms are continuing to hit these same places, dumping quite a lot of rain. So if you come across a flooded road, turn around, don't drown. That goes for anybody across central and southern Wisconsin, not just those in the flood watch this evening. As I mentioned, we do get a break from the humidity and the warmth on Friday, but then we're back into those 80s and 90s with humid conditions Saturday and Sunday. Storms sticking with us Sunday and Monday. We dry out Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday of next week, and it unfortunately looks like we could be dodging some showers and thunderstorms on the 4th of July.
Thank you, Blaze. The newly appointed slate of CDC vaccine advisors is recommending people do not receive vaccines that contain thimerosal this fall. That's despite no evidence of harm from the preservative. The closely watched vote was among the first for the new group, which the health secretary appointed this month after firing all 17 previous experts.
The key Medicaid provision in the president's big tax cut and spending bill violates spending rules. That's according to the Senate parliamentarian, which advised senators that the Medicaid provider tax change does not adhere to procedural rules. Republicans were relying on it to save billions of dollars from the health care program for massive tax cuts. After the parliamentarian issued its advice, reports pressed the White House about what comes next. The Senate is set to take up the bill tomorrow.
After senators finished a classified briefing on Iran, the Senate Intel chair says Iran's nuclear program is effectively destroyed. Trump administration officials briefed lawmakers about the airstrikes that hit Iranian nuclear facilities. Still, the White House is reportedly limiting the intelligence it's sharing after early damage assessments were leaked. The Pentagon is working with the FBI to investigate who leaked that assessment. Coming up next on Live at 4 tonight is a major reunion for Badger fans.
Josh Spreiter previews Make 'em Believe when Live at 4 continues. In the 608, tonight is a major reunion for Badger fans.
Josh Spreiter is previewing Made 'em Believe.
Well, we are super excited to be talking with Ben Bruss today. Ben, thank you so much for spending some time on News 3 Now.
I am so happy to be here. Excited for what's to come.
Yeah, you guys have a big event coming up Thursday night. Let's talk about Made 'em Believe, because this is going to be a night like no other.
Yeah, on Thursday at the Orpheum at 7 p.m., this is a great opportunity for any Badger fan who loved the back-to-back Final Four years, but more specifically the 2015 championship runner-up team. That team was special. When I say where were you when the Badgers beat Kentucky when they were 38-0, if you're watching right now, you could probably put yourself wherever you were in the world. And I think that's what's so special is it's been 10 years since the 2015 team, and life happens fast. You know, you got guys all across the country, guys playing in the NBA, guys starting families. And so to get everyone together and have Bo Ryan, who just was in the Naismith Hall of Fame induction, all on stage to entertain the audience and to tell stories and to bring in some videos from some special guests. I'm really excited to be a small part of this and really making sure that if you get tickets at uwhoops2015.com, you're going to have a heck of a time.
And that's what's so exciting. Obviously, here in Wisconsin, we are Badger fans through and through. And this community, you know, like you mentioned, we remember where we were at that time. And to go back 10 years, this is going to be a very memorable night for a lot of folks.
Yeah, that's the thing is, I think when you're at an event like this, you're going to have a lot of emotion, right? Because we're going to talk about things that place you in certain spots of your life. I think of it like there's a song, right? You listen to a song and you can put yourself where that song you heard it the first time or a memory you have with it. This team encapsulates that times 10 because it was such a big time in Wisconsin. And I think America really took to this team because of the personalities, the success on the floor. They were fun and they were good. And it's the purest form of college basketball. Who knows in today's world if this whole team in 2015 would have been together after the success of 2014. So to know that we don't have any other choice but to look back and be like, hey, this is a really cool story of how each player played a specific role and how the team came together, how they stayed together. I'm so excited because, again, I have those moments too where I remember where I was during a lot of those games throughout the 2015 season when I was overseas playing professionally in Lithuania. So I just love hearing from people who are going to be there, how excited they are. And if you have not gotten your tickets, you have to. I'm telling you, it will be worth your Thursday night. Get your Thursday night in Madison started at the Orpheum at 7 p.m. because it's going to be a great show, and I can't wait to share everything we have planned with everybody on Thursday in person.
Well, we here at News 3 Now are super excited for it too. Ben, thank you so much for spending some time with us today. We appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks so much. UWHoops2015.com. Get those tickets.
Thank you, Josh and Ben as well. And we have that link up on channel3000.com. And Eric Franke's going to join us live from the Orpheum in just a little bit. Coming up on Live at 4, why tenants of Madison's top-ranked property management companies say it's not living up to that praise.
Plus, why some people are pushing for teenagers to vote in certain elections.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Well, we really lucked out yesterday with concerts on the square, but that storm activity has followed us into Thursday now.
Yep, the weather words today are tracking rounds of severe storms. This is the place where you want to be today to try to stay cool. It's another hot and sticky day. Blaze, are there any watches or warnings in our viewing area right now?
We do have a tornado watch, and I'll touch on who's underneath that in just a moment. But for a majority of the forecast area covered here by Channel 3000, they're not underneath any sort of watch. We have no active warnings either, which is some good news. But we'll take it into where these showers and thunderstorms are, starting from up in Juneau and Adams County, and make our way further towards the south. So a little bit of shower activity, New Chester, south into the Dells, just to the west of Baraboo, continuing south into Richland County, further into Sauk County and Iowa County. A little lightning popping up with that cell just to the south of Boscobel, but we are beginning to see a little bit more shower activity into Dane County as well. Out near Wanakee, between Fitchburg and Mount Horeb, south Perry, back into Mineral Point, as well as in Belmont. These are not severe right now, but we are still tracking that chance for severe weather later this afternoon and then further into the evening. There's a look at who's underneath our current tornado watch. Juneau, Adams County, Vernon, Richland, as well as Crawford County that we cover until 8 p.m. this evening. National Weather Service in Milwaukee is looking at, but hasn't issued possibly a severe thunderstorm watch for their coverage area. They're still looking at the current situation. Again, we do have that alert day through this evening for not only strong storms, but also the chance for some flooding, as these storms are bringing quite a lot of rain to an already saturated central and southern Wisconsin. There's a look at our tornado threat this afternoon. It's on the lower end, but still make sure that you have a way to receive weather alerts, especially for those in the brown. The environment's just a little bit better for an isolated weak tornado than folks in the green, but even folks in the green, we could see an isolated weak tornado as we move through the rest of this afternoon. Take a look at Future Track, bringing in those showers and thunderstorms as we get into the 6, 7, 8 o'clock time frame, and then that line of storms moves in as we go overnight into early Friday. Alex and I are going to continue to monitor all the potential for severe weather throughout the rest of the afternoon. We'll touch on more in the full forecast.
Thank you, Blaze. You can track the forecast for yourself on the First Warn Weather app. You can download it for free. Just search WISC Weather.
We now know the identity of the child who died after getting hit on his bike on Wednesday. Green Lake police say 12-year-old John Emmett Zadro was riding his bike with two family friends just before 10 in the morning. An 85-year-old woman from Germantown was trying to park when she went over a curb, hit Zadro, and trapped him under her car. He went to the hospital with severe injuries, where he later died. The crash remains under investigation.
The man who crashed into a traffic light pole and ran from the scene has died. Just before 8 on Sunday night, Fitchburg officers responded to Fish Hatchery Road and Greenway Cross for a report of a crash. They found an SUV hit a light pole in the median of Fish Hatch. The car was empty, but 30 minutes later, Madison police showed up to check on an unresponsive man a few blocks from that scene. He died. Police say he's a 27-year-old Fitchburg resident and was the only person in the SUV when it crashed. An investigation is ongoing.
Monday's storms left a young couple's newer apartment flooded and their lives upended.
But as they tell our Arman Rahman, it's less about the weather and more about the negligent landlord they claim rained on their parade.
Kerrigan and her fiance say a leaking front door led to their entire apartment being flooded because property management didn't do enough to address the issue.
Within 30 minutes, our entire apartment had at least an inch of water throughout it.
Kerrigan says that's because after they had complained to their property management, Patriot Properties, in April that their front door was leaking water, it wasn't until May when she says they came over and literally cemented her front door in the rain, keeping it from opening. Then this past Monday,
there was water coming through the door at the fastest we have ever seen it.
At least an inch of water ruined the wood on their doorways, furniture, and more as they're preparing to get married.
It's really frustrating. It does get me a little bit emotional. Try not to cry whenever I talk about that because it really is our first home.
I spoke to Chris Gantz, founder of Patriot Properties, on the phone. He said this took more time to fix because the area in front of their front door was at an incline and needed to be re-cemented. They eventually applied sandbags out front, but it didn't stop Monday's rainwater, Ellie says. I'll have more from the landlord and the couple's response tonight at 6. For now, reporting in Madison, Arman Rahman, News 3 Now.
That I can think of off the top of
Thank you, Arman. We'll see you at 6. Now, that representative with Patriot Properties told us he will provide a statement from the company, but we haven't received it yet.
Dane County officials are trying to get younger voters motivated to go to the polls.
And one of the ways they hope to do that is by lowering the voting age for school board elections. Our Tanisha Shaw talked to the representative behind the resolution that could allow students as young as 16 to vote.
I think that everybody should be able to vote and have their voice heard.
Students at Madison West High School are using what they learned to help shape their local government.
And they came to us and said, we have this idea. We've been working on a project for a while now where we want to propose lowering the voting age for school board elections. And they were super passionate about this, and it was really great to hear from them.
Dane County Supervisor Henry Freeze oversees the county's youth council and collaborated with West High School students to bring the resolution to legislators.
It was super cool to see how, that kind of community effort, really bringing in the voices of people younger than me, which is, not the easiest thing to do because there's not a whole lot of people that are interested in local government at all that are younger than me at this point in my life.
In the original resolution, Freeze asked to specifically lower the voting age to 16 years old for elections involving school board members. But after feedback from his colleagues, that changed.
The executive committee, where some concerns were raised about the feasibility of having special ballots just for these 16 and 17-year-olds.
The final resolution proposes a study that the Legislative Council will use to look into ways to have better voting participation. Reporting in Madison, Tanisha Shaw, News 3 Now.
Tanisha, thank you, and we will show you the final resolution tonight at 6. The county board meeting will start tonight at 7.
Well, coming up on Live at 4, hard to believe it's been 10 years since the Badgers' unforgettable journey to the Final Four and the NCAA championship.
Time flies. We have a crew live at a special event tonight commemorating that special moment when we're back.
Well, it is hard to believe that it has been 10 years already since the Badger men's basketball team made that historic run to the NCAA championship game.
And tonight at the Orpheum Theater, there will be a reunion of sorts. Eric Franke joins us from downtown Madison with a closer look at this special event. Hey, Eric.
Brady, Susan, this is truly a special night. They're bringing a little bit of the Kohl Center to the Orpheum and turning back the clock to 2015 when the Badger men's basketball team made them believe that year, getting all the way to that championship game. It is a truly special event. I just got a sneak preview. I listened to Ben Brust, the former Badger who's going to host this event with ESPN Wisconsin, of course, talking about I don't want to give away too much of it, but I can tell you it is a truly special night where they bring a little bit of the Kohl Center in that 2015 season, turning back the clock. And Ben will actually actually join us in the 5 o'clock hour. He will be the MC tonight. And what he's going to do is he's going to bring in 4 of those legends, Josh Gosser, Bo Ryan, Frank Kaminsky, Sam Decker. They're going to reflect, tell some of the stories that nobody really knows about from that 2015 team, talk about the special run that it was. Yeah, it's been 10 years, hard to believe, but they're going to celebrate it tonight, and we're going to have Ben Bruss join us in about a half hour or so to talk more about what this event will be. There are still tickets available. It is going to be a packed house, just a few tickets left. Go to the Orpheum Theater website if you want to get tickets. It starts tonight at 7. We'll have another preview, as I said, with Ben Bruss joining us live in about a half hour. Susan Brady?
Boy, amazing to get all of those guys back together again. Those of us who were there, blessed enough to be there, will never forget that run. That's really exciting, Eric. Thank you. We'll see you at 5. Coming up on Live at 4, Blaze is tracking storms.
Plus, with more hot weather expected this summer, how to know when you're experiencing heat sickness.
Well, the hot, humid weather has really been taking its toll across the area this week.
Yeah, the extreme heat has contributed to dozens of hospital visits for things like dehydration and exhaustion. You don't want to mess around with this. Dr. Zorba Pastor is here with some helpful reminders for all of us who are outside.
Hi. Good to be here. Good to be here. You know, what people don't realize is more people die in the heat than die in the cold. You know, many years ago, about 20 years ago, 1,000 people died in Chicago from the heat. So it's important for a few things to do. Number one, if you have air conditioning, get in the air conditioning. You know, being in front of a fan is not the same thing. That's important to do. Number two, you've got to stay hydrated. I mean, otherwise you don't sweat, so you've got to do that. And if you see somebody who's collapsed that you think has collapsed by heat exhaustion, first of all, call 911. But if you're on a soccer field, what do you do then, you know, with people before they actually come? And that means if there are tarps around, you throw all the ice you can on the tarp, pour the water bottles, and get that person into the cold as much as you can. It is a big, big problem in Wisconsin and frankly throughout the country because often people do not take the heat seriously.
What's the difference between heat exhaustion and heat stroke?
Well, heat exhaustion is where you, like, you know, the other day if you were at a concert, you know, you just feel off. You feel like you've got to hydrate, but it takes a while for your body to get there. And then heat stroke is where you, almost like a stroke, you just collapse. You know, just do that. And people who have heart failure, diabetes, hypertension, who have serious medical problems are much more likely to have that happen to them.
Yeah, when we were at concerts on the square yesterday, we had shade, we had water, we had Gatorade, so we were well taken care of.
And you're healthy.
But afterward, we were just kind of both depleted.
I could literally wring water out of my blouse.
And think about what your body's doing in order to maintain its temperature so it's really not too hot.
And it's really, I think it's the humidity.
It's the humidity that does not allow
harder.
you to sweat. The sweat beads on you, and it doesn't allow you to go off as in dry heat. Right.
And for people who have pets, what do they have to think about too?
Keep their pets indoors if they can. If you have air conditioning, pets really have trouble. They have trouble keeping up. Dogs especially, but dogs and cats, those pets really have trouble. And dogs, do not take your dog to the dog park more than giving it enough time to pee and poop.
Well, there's a lot of summer left to go, so that's, that's really good advice. While we have you here, we wanted to talk to you about the news that your nationally syndicated radio program is coming to an end.
35 years. I love Wisconsin Public Radio. They decided that they have to pull back on some of their finances. So basically all their national programs, to the best of our knowledge, my show, the show Beta, and then University of the Air, which is a state show, they decided they just couldn't afford to produce it anymore. And it really, you know, it's very sad. You cannot believe the number of emails and others.
It's very popular.
Very popular. And I will be developing a podcast. I'll talk to you.
You just read my mind. I was just going to suggest
podcast is coming. Show is on until the end of September. So the end of September, we're going to have some wrap-up show, and then the podcast will start.
That's wonderful. You just reinvent yourself.
Absolutely.
That's what we do.
That's what it's about. Can you give us any hints about the podcast that people
Well, you know, it's going to be feisty. It's going to also talk about things you can't talk about on public radio. You know, there's certain things you can't talk about. You can imagine what those are. And we're in anti-science mode right now, where we have to push back against anyone who's anti-science. So it's going to be really a podcast that's, I don't know if the word is zippier, but we can then take positions that we have to be more careful with on public media.
Well, everyone will look forward to that. And of course, we will see you on this show too.
Absolutely.
Stay cool.
Thank you.
Thank you, Zorba.
And let's get a look at our first warn forecast. Stay cool being the key phrase today.
Not only today, but especially as we head back into the weekend as temperatures and the humidity climb back after a brief little break from both on Friday. This afternoon, we're still continuing to track that chance for severe thunderstorms. A little bit more activity on radar 3000 as pop-up showers are continuing to develop as a line of severe thunderstorms, especially in parts of Iowa, begins to inch closer to western parts of Wisconsin. We're going to continue to watch that chance for not only severe thunderstorms producing strong winds and some hail and heavy rain, but also that chance for an isolated weak tornado. Anybody there in the yellow, Richland County, Crawford County, Vernon County, Juneau and Adams within our coverage area, you are underneath a tornado watch until 8 p.m. But folks outside of that tornado watch, you're still actually underneath an isolated tornado threat. So make sure that you have a way to receive weather alerts in case a tornado warning is issued for where you live. We have a marginal risk and a slight risk for severe weather. So what does that mean in terms of, number of severe thunderstorms we could see? In the green, we're looking at an isolated chance. So that's for folks in Rock County, Walworth County. I would say cut Greene County in half, and part of us could be dealing with an isolated severe weather chance. But then the northern half, and anybody here in the yellow, that's more of a scattered chance for severe thunderstorms. And again, strong winds and heavy rain are going to be our main threats, but especially here as these storms continue to remain more discrete or alone, that's when we'll see that isolated weak tornado chance as well. But as we head further into the late afternoon, these storms are going to come together, form somewhat weak little lines here, and then we're going to watch that tornado threat shift over to more of a strong wind and continuing with that heavy rain threat. Eventually, the cold front passes on through as we go overnight into the early morning hours on Friday. That does bring us some relief from not only the heat, but also the humidity as we go into Friday. Upper 60s to low 70s this evening. Make sure that you are staying cool and hydrated, not only overnight, but also throughout the day. Not only on Friday, it's still going to be somewhat warm in the 80s, but we're back into the 80s and low 90s by Sunday. So you'll definitely want to make sure you're staying cool and hydrated this weekend as well. Folks in the green, so that's Vernon, Crawford, Richland, Juneau, Adams County, Waushara County, among a handful of Wisconsin counties. You're underneath a area flood watch until 4 a.m. on Friday, because we've already picked up over the last 5 days some spots upwards of 4 inches of rain, nearly 4 inches of rain in Dane County, over 3 inches of rain near the Dells. But some folks further to the north and west, it's estimated that we've picked up over 6 inches of rain over the last 5 days. So we don't need any more water, but these storms continue to hit the same spots over and over again, which is leading to that minor flooding concern. So if you live in an area that's prone to flooding, make sure that you've got the sub pumps ready. You may want to clear out any drains so that the water can go into those instead of standing around. Also, if you come across a flooded area, remember, turn around. Don't drown. There's a look at our 7 and 10 day forecast back into those hot and humid conditions Saturday and especially Sunday in the low 90s. Showers and thunderstorms return Sunday and Monday, but then we cool off in the days leading up to the 4th of July. As it stands now, unfortunately, it looks like we're going to be dodging some showers and thunderstorms not only on the 4th, but also your 4th of July weekend. But temperatures will be a little bit cooler in the low 80s.
Well, here's something fun to check out in Madison through the end of the weekend.
Yeah, right now the Alliant Energy Center grounds are playing host to the Regional Arabian Horse Championships. More than 300 horses have been brought for this event. Oh, isn't that beautiful?
They are so beautiful.
It is taking place now daily through Sunday, and it's free to attend. The big spotlight session is Saturday night with opening celebrations beginning at 5:30 p.m. And we'll be right back.
Here's what's coming up tomorrow on Live at 4. It's Friday, so Will Loper will take a look at what's new to streaming this weekend. And straight ahead tonight at 5, we'll tell you why some people in Columbia County are concerned about a new wind turbine project. That's straight ahead. Thanks for watching Live at 4 today, everybody. We hope to see you right back here tomorrow. You can always catch us 24/7 streaming on Channel 3000+. News 3 Now at 5 starts right now.